Welcome to Spring in the Garden, you all. It's mid-April, and what that means is this is the time of year that you can start putting your cool season crops outside in the garden. So this is like one of my favorite times of year. I know I say this every video, but it's true every time actually, because there's a different miracle happening every season. But cool season crops are generally the crops that you eat the leaves of or the roots of. So here's some examples of some of our cool season crops. This is bok choy right here. We have kale. We have collard greens. We have Asian cabbage. We have lots of different greens that are out here to do something called hardening off. That means they are getting used to the wind and the sun and the weather before we plant them out in the garden. So ideally plants would have about 2 weeks of getting used to the weather through hardening off before you plant them in the garden. So we take them out in the morning, we let them be out here all day, then we put them in at night, especially if it's going to go below freezing at night still. As you get closer to the 2 weeks, you can actually start even leaving them outside overnight if you want to. So this is an important piece. Don't just throw your plants right in the ground, your seedlings, I should say, that you've started inside, because they might go into shock and not be happy with you. So these we started in the greenhouse in March. If you didn't start plants inside, it's okay. There's a lot of things you can plant directly from seed right outside into the garden, including leafy crops, most of them, and including root crops. So let's go learn how to do this, y'all. So you can see that our garden beds, we're in the process of clearing them and getting them prepped for the season. And the way we prep them is simply digging out the weeds, any weeds or other plants that are left from the previous growing season, and then adding compost. So compost is like Mother Nature's most excellent fertilizer. It's basically made of anything that was once alive that has rotted and decomposed and turned into this beautiful, rich fertilizer for your garden that's super balanced. It's like the best medicine for your garden. So if you're going to be planting leafy crops, you need to know what ones you're planting to know how far apart they should be. So things like bok choy, I use my body as a measuring tool a lot. So from your thumb to your pinky finger is about 6 inches. That's about how far apart you could plant bok choy. You could do a little farther too, depending on if you want to harvest it as baby bok choy or fully mature bok choy. So the way to plant the greens, we usually plant them in a diamond pattern to give the plants more room. You can pack more in a bed that way. So I would just take my little green, I make a V with my hand around the plant, like so. And then instead of pulling on the plant to get it out of the pot, I squeeze on the pot, on the bottom of the pot to loosen the soil so you don't accidentally break that stem. And then you can see the roots kind of starting to circle around a little bit. So I just give them a little massage to loosen them up a little bit, pop them in the ground. You can also water them in, which means pouring water into the hole. If your soil is dry, definitely do that. Our soil is really nice and moist because it's been really rainy this week. So we aren't going to worry about watering in, but you can literally fill the hole with water. The water will slowly seep down into the earth and make a nice moist place to put this new seedling. Then you just tuck it in. The top of the root ball can be right where the top of the soil is. You don't want to pack it in, just keep it nice and loose and fluffy so that the rain can get down and percolate and so that the new roots can ease their way into the soil easily without having to fight through compacted soil. Then I would just use my body as a measuring tool. Here's my 6 inches. I would get out, take another little seedling, then I would plant it here. And I'm doing that diamond pattern. So I would take another seedling and plant it here. And then I would plant another one right here. And we would do the diamond all the way down the bed. So that's how to plant your leafy greens. Look and see on the seed packet, it will say thin to, which means thin out the plants so that they are a certain distance apart. That tells you how far apart you should plant your seedlings. So kale, I plant about 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches. Collard greens, I would plant more like 18 inches. So that's your fingertip to your elbow. If you have a plant that says 12 inches, that's about your wrist to your elbow. So you can ish it with your body. And if you change your I love you sign From this to more like a Y, that's like 4 inches. So 4 inches, 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches. Here you go, you don't even need a ruler. The other thing you can plant this time of year is root crops. So carrots, beets, radishes, potatoes, all the things that grow the part that you eat under the ground. So if you look on a seed packet, it will tell you if it's something that can be seeded directly out into the garden, it will say plant outdoors. So this one says plant outdoors as soon as the soil can be worked. So this is lettuce, another leafy crop. This one you have an option. You could plant it indoors 4 weeks before transplanting it outside, or you could start it as outside directly as soon as the soil can be worked. So carrots and beets and other root crops, you can plant them in different ways, but we're going to head over to this bed so I can kind of demonstrate. You can either just simply broadcast seed, which means literally open your seed packet and sprinkle the seeds onto the top of the soil. And then I usually sprinkle a little bit of compost over the top just to keep the seeds from blowing away and to keep the critters from eating them, but they don't need to be deep. They only need to be about twice as deep as the seed is big. So if you look at a carrot seed, look at these things. These are tiny. Every seed goes into one carrot. Look how little. And if they need to be planted only twice as deep as the seed is big, that is like barely under the soil, really. So with carrots, you can broadcast them. My favorite way is to make a little furrow in the soil like this. And then you would sprinkle your seeds in the furrow, and then you'd pinch the soil over the top of the seeds. Um, Doing that, you just want to mark where you put your rows so that you know when they start to pop up. And then carrots, things with tiny seeds like this, you will need to thin them. Because if you sprinkle, you're going to have carrots this close together, right? Think about the size of a carrot, about that big. You're going to need to pull out enough seedlings that each little seedling is about this far apart so that the carrots have room to mature under the ground. If you have a bigger seed, like a beet, beets are really cool seeds because they're actually a shriveled flower head. And so inside each seed, you might get 2 or 3 little beet plants from it. Because don't those look crazy like a little alien? I love beet seeds. And so these ones, since you can see them, you can plant them one at a time instead of just sprinkling. And think about the size of a beet. So you would want to plant them about that far apart on the ground. So I literally just drop them on the top of the soil so I can see where I put them and keep track. And then you would just take your finger and poke them under a little bit. They don't need to be far. And there's all my beets. I would just go through and poke them under the whole row. So I'm going to pick these up so we don't actually have a mixed bed here, but just to show you the process. There are some leafy crops that we usually start from seedlings. We plant them early. Those include kale, collard greens, bok choy, although bok choy you can also just seed directly out in the garden. Some crops that we do not start inside because they get too hot in the greenhouse and they bolt really quickly, which means they go right to flower and then they're no good to eat. Things like that include spinach, mustard greens, turnip greens, and usually we start lettuce outside directly in the garden. So if you are ready to plant, happy planting season. If you're not, don't worry, you can still wait till that last frost date, which is around May 10th in Madison, and you can just wait and plant everything in the garden then if you would rather do it that way. What's coming up May 10th and after is we get to put our warm season crops in the ground. So cool season crops, things we eat the leaves and the roots of. Warm season crops are the plants that we eat the fruit of, which means the part of the plant with the seeds in it. So think of tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers. All those guys are warm season crops. Wait till that last frost date to pop those in. But if you are excited to get your cool season crops in, go for it. Another trick that we do here at Badger Rock is we use row cover. That's this gauzy kind of material. And we put them over our new seedlings to protect them from the rabbits and the birds until they're a little more mature, and then we can take this off. But our whole garden will be under a blanket of row cover within the next couple weeks, and that's what that is. It's protection from I shouldn't say pests, from the animals who would like to share in the abundance of our farm. So that is cool season planting, y'all. Also, you can get your peas in. Forrest did a video on that earlier because a lot of crops you can put them in. It says on the seed packet as soon as the soil can be worked. That means when it's not frozen anymore. So that's been early this year. So happy cool season planting, y'all. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And if you have any questions about planting your cool season crops, what to get in the ground now, feel free to pop a comment in the comments and we will get back with you as soon as we see it. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the crocuses and all the spring life popping up all around, and we will see you next time. All right, just popping back on here really quick to say we are so excited about carrots because you can also overwinter them. So we're here in our hoop house, and this is just a hoop that's covered in plastic. Just the sun through the plastic keeps it warm enough in here for really cold hardy crops to make it through the winter, and you can get an early harvest. So if you look down here, here are the carrots we planted in the fall. They are happily growing in here, along with some weeds already. Woohoo! So carrots are one of those magical crops that you can actually plant in the fall if you cover them, and they can give you an early harvest. Spinach is another one of those. Almost all of the cold hardy crops can be grown in a hoop house or a covered structure, planted in the early fall to give you an early harvest in the spring. So we just had to show you all these because they're very beautiful and exciting. And this is what's coming. So when your carrots start popping up, this is what they'll look like, kind of a feathery leaf. So that is not a weed. Don't pull it out. Wait till it makes a carrot. And the way you can tell if they're ready to harvest, you'll see a little carrot top popping up out of the ground. So these are too little. We don't see any carrot tops yet. So keep an eye for those carrot tops, and then you just pop them out of the ground, and you will have the sweetest, most delicious carrots you've ever had. All right, happy planting, y'all. We'll see you next time.